Thank you so much for opening this email. Thank you for being part of our community. If you're new, you are welcome here. In our mailing list, I talk about things that I wouldn't be able to talk about on other platforms, even though I recognise we are still sort of literally on YouTube, but hopefully in not such a broad fashion. I answer your questions around mental health and addiction. I talk about what I'm doing in a general way, like for example, but at the behest of Laura Collada, who works here with you, I'm reading an extract from the Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier, which is a book I've sort of heard of but never read. I mean, sometimes you wonder how these books become classics. I don't know how they do. What constitutes a classic? How many times in your life have you picked up a book that you've been told to read and gone, oh God, this is so boring, this is actually killing me. I'm trying to read Ulysses by James Joyce. It's honestly, it's like sort of like sorting through a box of screws or something. I mean, I recognise there are flashes of incomparable linguistic genius on every page, but bloody hell, it's a ball ache. So listen, there's loads of things I want to tell you about. Have you clicked on the link here to register your interest for our Wim Hof Day on July the 10th? There will only be 1,000 tickets. It's a one-day event in Hay-on-Wye where me and Wim Hof are conducting a bunch of exercises and stuff. There's going to be other people talking there. Biette Simpkins, she's a brilliant breathwork teacher. I'm asking Ed Stafford, the survival expert, to come down. Essentially what we're going to discuss is new ways that we might live. How might we live as humanity? How will we handle the challenges of traditionalism, apparently versus progressivism, but find a magnetism between those polarities to create different systems and different ways of living? These are the kind of things we're trying to resolve here. We start off by communicating our version of truth, and then hopefully through symbiosis, through cooperation and collaboration, we create new systems. We've got loads of exciting new things coming up, more events, live events, stream events, opportunities for us to be together in the same space, brilliant new projects that are on the rise that I want you to hear about first of all. But let me tell you a few little simple bloody things that are going on. There's merchandise. We sell merchandise, don't we? There it is. That's a phone case, you see. Stay free, stay free. Will you step in front of the camera for just a moment so people can see? Look at this beautiful hoodie modelled by Will. Oh, who doesn't want one of those little beauties? Any money that we make from this stuff, well done, Will, don't hog it, don't hog it. Any money that we make from this stuff all goes to recovery and charitable causes. For example, my mate Gary, in fact, I'm his sister's mate, her name is Michaela. He's a former Marine who's now paralysed and stuff, and we're going to make a donation to him out of this fund. But usually it's people with mental health and addiction health issues. But we're available. People need help. Some of that help's financial. This is a little charity. We're only flogging a few bloody hoodies. You know what I mean? We're not talking millions of quid here. But it's a little way of doing something, isn't it? And if all of us do a little bit. Anyway, that's what we're doing with the merchandise. There's a link in the description if you want some. Here's some questions from you guys. First up is, let me have a little look here. Sean says, my question is, how do you deal with this world? All right, Sean, well, loads of ways, sometimes badly and clumsily. I can't even consume the same media anymore. Yeah, that's a good choice, don't do that. I scroll through YouTube and even thumbnails upset me. Well, sometimes to tell you the truth, they're supposed to elicit an emotional reaction, so you click on it. Even we do that. I can't look at the news or Reddit. I don't want to be someone that just shoves their head under the sand, but right now I can't even engage with the world around me. I end up feeling like the apocalypse is around the corner and I might as well be dead. Clearly not a healthy process. How do you stay positive? I can tell you how. Apocalypse means revelation. I know apocalypse in your mind and collectively even means a kind of form of destruction, but if you think about the most beautiful thing that could happen in your lifetime, it involves destruction. Enlightenment involves the destruction of the personal self. This is a process that I'm engaged in with you. I don't claim to be any further down this path than you, Sean. I'm just working on trying to let go of my own trauma, erroneous beliefs, tendencies, habits, projections, this matrix, this net of synaptic information that makes me me in a personal and idiosyncratic way, but can also be transcended through various practices. So what I reckon you do, mate, is you put in good info. You form good alliances with good people. You recognise the limitations of your power. Unless you're Elon Musk, you can't, with a couple of transactions, change the landscape of the cultural space. If you are Elon Musk, then you get on and do that stuff. Now, what I'm suggesting for you, do you pray and meditate? Are you formulating positive relationships? Are you ensuring that you nourish yourself from both a dietary perspective and from a psychological perspective? You can do it, mate. Don't expect to be able to change reality. Remember that your perception is warped. Remember that you see reality in the way you do because of trauma. Remember that you right now are in limitless space. You are in limitless space, that even the most fundamental rules of our universe might be just local customs applicable to a tiny, tiny area in an infinite, unknowable phenomena. So what I would say is, focus on your deep, deep inner self through prayer and meditation. Focus on things that feel good. I don't mean pleasurable. I mean things like purpose, service, connection to others. These are the things I do. a couple of weeks ago on this mailing list, I did the 12-step course. One day at a time, I talked you through ways that you can change your psyche. I suggest you do that. Any of you, including you, Sean, that would like me to do a deeper course around 12 steps, let me know and I'll do it. Hit me up in the comments below. Tracy asks, I beat a drug addiction and I've been sober for 17 years. Well done, Tracy. But since then, I've been chasing peace and I'm currently going through my second depression. Both depressions have been brought on by traumatic events. I've been getting help, but I just feel like a huge blockage in my mind prevents me from achieving peace. I can't seem to ever quiet the noise in my head. I don't even know that it could be quiet enough for meditation. Do you have advice on how I might achieve this? I certainly do. Firstly, don't have too much expectation, mate, around meditation. Let's close the eyes right now. Bring your attention to the breath. In, out. Through the nose, elongate the exhalation. So you're coming in through the nose for about 5. Out for about 7. Bring the head, neck and chest roughly in line. Keep the exhalation a little bit longer than in the inhalation. Notice that there are thoughts. Notice that there are feelings. It takes me a long time in my meditations to achieve some separation from the thoughts. Sometimes a good thing happens. Oh, everything's great. Bad thing happens. Everything's terrible. I'm welded, combined with external reality and apparently external stimuli. But through the slow development of these meditative practices, we can change. On that Michael Singer episode of Under the Skin that I just done, we talk about how staying aware of trauma, and what I mean by trauma is like pain or suffering, where you feel it in your body, observe it. Let it come through you, mate. Let it come through you. You can let go of it. You can change your psyche. You can alter. Well done on the recovery. At around 17 years, which is roughly where I am, 19 and a half years. They say, one of my teachers says, he's 40 years. He says, it takes 20 years. It takes 20 years for this stuff to happen. We're on an apprenticeship. We're trying to spiritually awaken. This stuff takes bloody ages. It's really hard, unless you have some mad Damascene flash. But that ain't how it's been for me. Anyway, listen to my podcast, Above the Noise, available on Luminary. If you're not a Luminary subscriber yet, then please become one now. For £2.50 a week, you get Under the Skin, great podcast. You get Above the Noise, great podcast. One's a great chat with a deep thinker. Other one's a guided meditation with me. Or this week, I've done it with Bob Roth, who taught me TM, Transcendental Meditation. He does the breathing exercise because TM is taught one-on-one. But you'll love it. Give it a go. If you're not watching my YouTube channel yet, go and watch it. There's 5.6 million subscribers, and every day we put out a video. They're always great. They're always informative. They're often pretty funny. I've just done some well funny ones. One about Hunter Biden and that laptop's hilarious. One about Trump being on Piers Morgan. It's a hoot. Have a look at all these things. Just enjoy yourself. Wake yourself right up. Dan asks, I worry I'm not a good dad. I worry about that, Dan. I worry I'm not a good dad. It's hard to know that you're a good dad. You know you're going to make mistakes. Then people are hard. Son's at university now. He's a quiet and introspective young man. That's beautiful, Dan. He's utterly magnificent in my eyes, but I worry I don't do enough to support him. I think he finds it difficult to make new friends. You must feel so worried. I worry that I'm not a good enough parent, mate. I think it's impossible not to feel those feelings. But if you love your son in the way that it seems you do, and if he knows you're there for him, you've sort of done all you can. Michael Mead, when he came on our podcast Under the Skin, he says, you wound your children. It's inevitable. No one gets out of their childhood unwounded. In part, it is our job. It's in fact tribal custom to wound your male child in particular so that they know they're entering adulthood or manhood where it's less obvious because you don't go through like the menstrual and biological changes that are more evident in the female. I'm not suggesting there are, differences that need to be emphasised between the sexes, except in this cultural regard, there is some sort of difference. Mate, be present and be loving and be there and know that you cannot do it infallibly. Release yourself from the idea that there is some invisible standard that you're not meeting. You are meeting the standard. Let me read the rest of your email. I think he finds it difficult to make new friends and feels a bit isolated, but I'm not sure what to do to help. I also worry I'm not equipped to help. You are. You'll have the equipment. My only role model was my own dad, and he was emotionally distant and an alcoholic. I worry I'm subconsciously subsumed by that. I don't drink or use drugs, mainly because of my experience with him, but I worry I've adopted this emotional coldness. You're not emotionally cold, mate. Look at you. You're trying to improve yourself. How do I become self-aware enough to critically appraise myself? Don't bother critically appraising yourself. Be who you are. Embrace who you are. Accept who you are. If you believe in God, and I believe in God, then you will know that you have been put in the right place at the right time, that you will know what you need to know when you need to know it, that you and your son will walk the path that you have been given to walk together in harmony. There will be ups and downs, and there will be moments of doubt, and there will be moments of personal inquiry, such as the one you're having now. But you're going to be all right, mate. You're a beautiful human being. You're a beautiful human being. Speak to other fathers about their experience raising their children. Speak to your son plainly and candidly. Trust yourself. Spend 20 minutes now in quiet solitude and contemplation. Ask of the inner forces within you. Ask of the ancestors, even your father with all these flaws, that they give you what you need, and you'll find it in yourself. The answers will come if you are sincerely, Dan, and I know you are sincere. You're going to be fine. Have you been listening to Underskin? I've asked you that. You should. Have you listened to Above the Noise? You should. Are you subscribing to my channel? You should. Are you buying some of that merch to give to nice people? You bloody well should. Right, I'm going to read a bit of the old Jamaica in, and then I'll go about my way. I hope you know that we are sincere in our attempts to change the world. We acknowledge our own fallibility and flaws, and we know that we will need you. If you want to come to that July 10th date, yeah, there will be tents, but it's July 10th. Then register yourself for it, and you can come. And I think there's a couple of tickets available for Blackpool. And if you want to come for free, because you can't afford it, but make sure you can't afford it, if you say Blackpool #33 in the subject of an email sent to hello@russellbrand.com, we'll give you a pair of tickets, all right? So you can come. It's about more than money for us. It is about money, because we're building a business and a movement. But it's not just money. So send us that. All right, now for Laura Collado, who does the research here, we're going to read a bit of Jamaica in, a book I've heard of, but don't know nothing about. Right. Oh, hold on a minute. What's this about? Is it a sex book? No. Let's just read the beginning and see if it's any good. Like you normally know with a book like this. It's a beautiful looking book, I'll tell you that. Dracula. Oh, it's gothic. Du Maurier. Mary Yellen, Jamaica Inn. She wrote it at 29. Doesn't it annoy you when you hear people writing books when they're young? You think, shut up, you don't know nothing, 29. Bodmin, that's where we are now. It was a cold, grey day in late November. The weather had changed overnight when a backing wind brought a granite sky and a mizzling rain with it. And although it was now only a little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the pallor of a winter evening seemed to have closed upon the hills, cloaking them in mist. It would be dark by 4. The air was clammy, cold, and for all the tightly closed windows, it penetrated the interior of the coach. The leather seats felt damp to the hands, and there must have been a small crack in the roof because now and again little drips of rain fell softly through, smudging the leather and leaving a dark blue stain like a splodge of ink. The wind came in gusts, at times shaking the coach as it travelled round the bend of the road, and in the exposed places on the high ground it blew with such force that the whole body of the coach trembled and swayed, rocking between the high wheels like a drunken man. That's actually brilliant, isn't it? It's brilliant writing, it's beautiful, we know where we are in these moors, it's getting dark, it's November, it's cold, you're in a coach, the coach is not stable, so we know we're in for a story that's going to tell us about journeys and instability, the natural forces that apply pressure, and the infallibility or the fallibility of the vehicle. Let me just read a bit more, see if I still like it. The driver, muffled in a great coat, first human being. The driver, muffled in a great coat to his ears, bent almost double in his seat in a faint endeavour to gain shelter from his own shoulders, while the dispirited horses plodded sullenly to his command. Cool. Too broken by the wind and the rain to feel the whip that now and again cracked above their heads while it swung between the numb fingers of the driver. She's an amazing writer. She can take you right into the details. The wheels of the coach creaked and groaned as they sank into the ruts on the road, and sometimes they flung up the soft, spattered mud against the windows where it mingled with the constant driving rain, and whatever view there might have been of the countryside was hopelessly obscured. This is bloody brilliant. The few passengers huddled together for warmth, or who's in this coach, exclaiming in unison when the coach sank into a heavier rut than usual. And one old fellow who had kept up a constant complaint ever since he'd joined the coach at Truro rose from his seat in a fury and, fumbling with the window sash, let the window down with a crash, bringing in a shower of rain upon himself and his fellow passengers. He thrust his head out and shouted up to the driver, cursing him in a high, petulant voice for a rogue and a murderer. "You're a rogue and a murderer!" That they would all be dead before they reached Bodmin if he persisted in driving at breakneck speed. They had no breath left in their bodies as it was, and he, for one, would never travel by coach again. Whether the driver heard him or not was uncertain. It seemed more likely that the stream of reproaches was carried away in the wind. For the old fellow, after waiting a moment, put up the window again, having thoroughly chilled the interior of the coach, and settling himself once more in his corner, wrapped his blanket about his knees and muttered in his beard. Pretty beautiful. Jamaica in there by Daphne du Maurier. I'd read that. That's wicked. Thing is, it makes you realise, isn't it, that the world has really changed. Imagine living in a time where those coach journeys and stuff were real. And obviously, Daphne du Maurier, she was writing when that was real, I guess. And she could not have dreamed of this world that we now inhabit. And yet there are identifiable emotions and situations, like when you're on a train or a bus and someone pipes up and kicks off and you think, oh, shut up, granddad. And the irony that by opening the window, the situation has been made worse. Pretty cool bit of writing that. I'll try and read the rest of it. Okay, we're going to leave now, but remember the take home for this is buy merch if you can afford it. Sign up to YouTube if you want to. It's free, particularly the Awakening side channel. Luminary, I've mentioned that, have I? You should probably, that's where some great content is. You should sign up to that if you want to and if you can afford to. And remember, July the 10th, the big Wim Hof Day. It's going to be amazing. Wim Hof's doing it for nothing. Any money we raise is going to that aforementioned charity. If you're interested, if you can't attend and want to watch it as a live stream or you want to watch it as a video, fill in the survey that we sent to you in a previous email. Anyway, I love you guys a whole bunch. And you guys love me too, because look, Carol Yusuf says, wonderful content as usual, Russell. I love being part of your community. Thanks. I love you. Jessica Dixon, excited for Blackpool. You can come for free. Remember, put that thing in the subject. You can come for free. Looking forward to hearing more about the Hay on White event. Sounds like an amazing opportunity for anyone lucky enough to secure a ticket. Loving the fluorescent beanie hats. Yeah, I love them too. Barbara Wright. As you were reading the Haku, a lovely dog appeared in the window behind you. Super cool. Not possible. Not true. Definitely not true. I love you very much. Please stay with us in this community, but more important than that, please stay free.